Good evening, everybody. Uneducated Economist. So I've been reading this speech, Some Essentials of Monetary Stability, given by a George Harrison, dated April 2nd, 1936, of the New York Fed. Now, this is part 2 of this video series, and if you haven't seen part 1, that's okay, because it doesn't really pertain. What I wanted to give you guys out of this report here, though, was that this guy does one of the best explanations of the economy that I think I've ever heard. And you can go down to the library right now, and you can read an endless supply of books about a zillion different authors, all telling you about the economy. And what it comes down to is they're giving you their economic theory, okay? So listen to this. I am one of those who believe that the world has now reached a stage where international trade, the movement of goods from points of surplus to points of shortage, is an important factor in maintaining economic stability and in producing a higher standard of living, not only for the world in general, but for the country too. It may be true that a nation can live within itself if it must do so, but the price of complete nationalism must be a lower, not higher standard of living. In prehistoric time, the family unit was the economic unit. The caveman had to content with himself, with his own ability to hunt for his living. He provided as best he could for himself. His standard of living depended entirely on his own powers to provide for himself. As time went on, as economic unit grew, from a single family to groups of families, or later on, as people became organized into geographical or political units, they too, owing to inadequate mechanisms for trade, had to live largely within themselves and to be satisfied with what they could grow or make for themselves. After centuries of struggles with the development of transportation and communication to the point where goods and people and opinions can be moved about rapidly and cheaply, the world has learned to expect and to demand much broader opportunities and a much higher standard of living than was possible when those facilities were lacking. Improved methods of communication and transportation have not only made the opportunities for distribution greater, but the press, the telephone, and the radio have stirred the imagination and enlivened the desires of the peoples everywhere for their products of other communities and other nations. People are no longer content to accept only that which their own nations afford them. Sorry, guys. People are no longer content to accept only that which their own nations afford them any more than people within a nation are satisfied with the produce of their own particular locality. It is true that there has been much discussion and even advocacy of the ideal of a closed economy. I cannot but feel, however, that we are still far from taking seriously such a definition of our ultimate goal. That is a passing phase, an expression of the world's discouragement with the tangled state of affairs resulting from the war and depression. So I love how he breaks it down to the caveman, right? He breaks it down to whatever this guy could do to get out there and make his survival, right? If you happen to find a really nice cave, if you happen to find a really good, source of like little critters that run around that he has like an endless supply of food, his standard of living was much higher than the guy who was struggling to make it every single day, right? So the caveman was the ultimate unit. And if his little family unit grew and was much more powerful, they could trade with the other units that were over there. So the economy isn't a single action that you can put your hands on. It's not something that you can just go and say, hey, there's the economy. That's what you can look at. It's not the Dow. It's not, gold and silver. It's not any single one thing. The economy is us. It's everything. It's the way things move. It's the newest technology. The economy is organic. Uneducated Economist. We'll talk to you later.